going to be here. We booked him. A lot of times he shows up late, we'll have to say. And many more. Pete Hegseth and Dana Perino. You know it's got to be a big show if Dana Perino got up 8 hours early to be with us.
Pete Hegseth's going to be here. Geraldo's going to be here. We have a great guest.
That's right.
And we also have the guy who's in charge of the president's campaign, Brad Parscale, will be here as well.
He is significantly taller than me. Yeah. He is like 6'9". He's here. He's pumped up. He was with the president last night. He's going to be flying out with him at about 9 o'clock in the morning, and he's really pumped up about a few things happening, including Democrats coming the president's way.
Well, we'll see about that.
We'll see, yeah.
To vote for the president.
Nancy Pelosi does say she wants a comprehensive, bipartisan deal when it comes to immigration. We'll see that.
Well, we'll see.
I believe it.
Right.
She also said yesterday, right after the president unveiled his new immigration plan, which is merit-based, also where you have to learn English and take a civics test, Nancy Pelosi, said, that's dead on arrival. We will play some of that with her in a minute, but first, here's the president unveiling the big plan.
Our proposal is pro-American, pro-immigrant, and pro-worker. It's just common sense. We want immigrants coming in. We cherish the open door that we want to create for our country. But a big proportion of those immigrants must come in through merit and skill. Future immigrants will be required to learn English and to pass a civics exam prior to admission. And if for some reason, possibly political, we can't get the Democrats to approve this merit-based high-security plan, then we will get it approved immediately after the election when we take back the House, keep the Senate, and, of course, hold the presidency.
And, of course, if you're the president and you have a Rose Garden address, you can demand the weather be great. And the president did have that type of poll. He had a comprehensive plan. It's mostly Jared Kushner's plan, briefed to Republicans. To me, it seemed very 2020-esque. It talks about doing things that Australia and Canada are doing, saying, look, we're looking for first-round draft picks, and there's got to be a reason. That's where we're at right now in 2020. We only can have a certain amount coming in, and it's about time we start saying some of these foreign students that are coming here, for example, and you're doing great. Why are we sending you home if you want to stay?
But you're going to be incentivized if you are one of the best coming in, because right now the average yearly wage for legal immigrants is $43,000. The president says if you do it legally and you're highly skilled, we're going to pay you $126,000.
Right. Right now, 60%. That's good. We're offering more money. 66% of those people who get green cards today are through the program where if you have a family connection, and only 12% based on skill. Going forward, it would be closer to 60% based on merit. Now, here are the problems with it. Ann Coulter was upset that the number
She's
of green
upset
cards...
since when?
Thursday. She's upset that the number of green cards is going to remain at 1 million. Meanwhile, you've got the Democrats in there going, hey, wait a minute, where's the plan to deal with the Dreamers? As for the speaker, she says, merit, I don't like that word. And crisis, well, I've got an explanation. Watch this.
Merit. It is really a condescending word. Are they saying family is without merit? Are they saying most of the people who have ever come to the United States in the history of our country are without merit because they don't have an engineering degree? Let me just say this. We have never not said that there is a humanitarian crisis at the border, and some of it provoked by the actions taken by the administration.
Wait, did I hear her right?
Exactly. Yeah. She has never said there wasn't a crisis at the border. She's always believed that.
Called it a crisis.
Hey, Ansley, didn't she tell us to mow the lawn and then we would have no more problems because the problem with the grass was so tall we couldn't see people sneaking in?
So anyway, unfortunately for the speaker, this thing called videotape exists, and here is graphic evidence that maybe that was not accurate.
Yeah, put the tape in the VCR.
This president just used the backdrop of the Oval Office to manufacture a crisis.
President Trump must stop holding the American people hostage, must stop manufacturing a crisis.
The crisis on the border is a manufactured crisis.
They are engaging in what I would call manufactured moral crisis.
This so-called
crisis at the border is fake.
This is a crisis of his own making because it was a campaign pledge.
Yeah,
Brian loves having a studio audience. Brian's like commenting on each of those.
You have no proof of that, Ainsley, you keep your mouth shut. All right, don't say a word.
Hey, you know what? I love what the president said to the Democrats yesterday. He said, you know what? This is going to get passed because we're going to get the House after the election, and then we'll pass it then.
Well, I know, but here's what bothers me. This is a 2020 speech, and it's great because the president's going to say this exactly. You know what I want? And I think we all want, there is a 5-alarm fire on our southern border right now, and the men and women every day need some help. And this plan is not going to help.
And so that's what the president was talking about yesterday. That's why the president essentially rolled this out. Ultimately, and we heard a little of it yesterday in the Rose Garden, he's going to say, look, I want immigration reform. You want immigration reform. The Democrats don't, so the only way to do anything about that is to elect more Republicans.
Steve, did you see that he referenced Senator Lindsey Graham in the audience, right? And he said, Lindsey, I love what you're doing. To me, with Nancy Pelosi, even though the hypocrisy is real and the fact that she's pretending she didn't say it was a crisis, we understand that. But there's an opportunity because there are times when Democrats and Republicans come together. When the market fell apart in 2008 and after 9/11, this is almost like that at the border. We've never seen these numbers before. And the men and women who have to round up these illegals who want to become part of our country are saying, please help us. They could actually get something done now. Please go behind closed doors and do it.
Folks, do you think the Democrats will work with the president to give him a win before the election?
No.
Okay, I do. All right? I am holding out hope that they're going to rise to the occasion. So all of you can now leave for turning against me.
You're very optimistic. Okay, let's talk about something else you're all concerned with, too, how this Russia investigation ever started. And Bill Barr is trying to get to the bottom of it. An exclusive interview yesterday with Bill Hemmer, and the full thing's going to air today. But we have a clip of him chatting with Bill Hemmer. Watch this.
Been trying to get answers to questions, and I found that a lot of the answers have been inadequate, and I've also found that some of the explanations I've gotten don't hang together. So in a sense, I have more questions today than I did when I first started.
Some of what things don't hang together?
Some of the explanations of what occurred.
Why does that matter?
Because I think people have to find out what the government was doing during that period. If we're worried about foreign influence, for the very same reason, we should be worried about whether government officials abuse their power and put their thumb on the scale. And so I'm not saying that happened, but I'm saying that we have to look at that.
It's amazing what's happened since he assigned U.S. Attorney John Durham to this and since Bill Barr took over. Now Comey, Clapper, and Brennan are all turning on each other. James Baker is saying it wasn't my idea to go up to the president and brief him on the dossier. And then Brennan saying it wasn't my idea to use the dossier and put it in the FISA application. Comey goes, oh, yeah, it was your idea. And Rod Rosenstein is saying Comey is basically a deranged lunatic. Well, so what the heck has changed?
What has changed is Donald Trump won. And if Hillary Clinton were president of the United States, do you think there would be an investigation into this?
No, there wouldn't be.
Crazy.
I think they're just trying to get ahead of it because they're nervous. They're nervous their names are going to be on the Horowitz report.
Down goes Comey.
You know,
if I can quote Howard Cosell.
You know what's interesting? Listen to this. There was a Fox News poll, and folks were asked how likely intelligence agencies like the FBI broke the law to investigate President Trump. Look at that. 58% said extremely, very, or somewhat, and only 31% said not at all. So
and
that
you get
just
that number when
shows
you add up the first three.
That's pretty scary that we can't trust the FBI. I'm not saying anything about the field offices. We know there are a lot of amazing people that work for the FBI as investigators.
Well, I tell you what, we kind of polled the audience a little while ago. Let's go ahead and come out here. Welcome to Fox and Friends, folks. Where's Lex? Lex, right back here. Lex, regarding the FBI and the Department of Justice, do you think that it's important to have this investigation to see whether or not laws were broken when they started to surveil the Trump campaign?
I think it's very important, and these people are very skilled at their trade craft, so I'm sure they've covered it up very well as they were going along. So one has to dig very deep to get to the bottom of it and find out what actually happened.
The trade craft. So in other words, you're thinking, well, if these guys are spies, they probably figured a way to do it where we'll never find out.
Yes,
Is that what you mean?
I think there's a lot of innuendo and blowing smoke, and they've covered their tracks very well. And that's what one has to figure out.
All right, and that's what we're trying to get to. Hey, good answer. Alberto, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right, what concerns you about this investigation? We heard from the Attorney General a couple of weeks ago, spying did occur, he believed, and now this Mr. Durham is looking into all this stuff. Do you think we're going to get to the bottom of it?
I really hope so. Nobody is above the law, and that includes the FBI themselves, and I believe that the investigators that are investigating the investigators,
right,
however that goes, but anyways, they should proceed vigorously with every method that they can to get to the bottom of this.
All right, thank you very much. Good answer. Where's Nancy? Nancy, right over here. Good morning to you. What's your big concern? Does it bother you to think that the whole FISA thing was written back in the 70s so that the United States could surveil people in other countries? And it's very disturbing if they use the laws that are supposed to apply to people from other countries to spy on Americans illegally.
I think it's very concerning, and I hope that they get to the bottom of this. It is going to take some deep investigation, and yes, it is very concerning.
Do you think we'll get to the bottom eventually?
I do.
All right.
I do. I have faith in Attorney General Barr that he will get it done.
Well, we'll find out. And that interview with Bill Hemmer and the Attorney General will be on at 9 o'clock on America's Newsroom. All right. Nice round of applause for everybody. By the way, what a great catch for Bill Hemmer. He had to go to South America to get it happen, to Central America to make it happen, but Bill Hemmer coming back with a great interview. Meanwhile, up next at our show, media reporter for The Hill and radio talk show host Joe Concha has left his estate in New Jersey and is coming our direction.
Life sounds like...
Welcome back to the most attractive audience in America. Former Vice President Joe Biden is crushing the competition for the Democratic nomination so far.
There's a new Fox News poll that shows that Biden is doing a lot better, more than double the lead over his closest competitor, which is Bernie Sanders, who has 17%. That is a 6-point drop in support since Biden got in the race.
Is the crowded field helping Joe Biden in the polls? Let's talk to Joe Concha, media reporter for The Hill, a radio talk show host on WOR here in New York City. Joe, as you look at Joe Biden's number, is it getting bigger because people are looking at the whole list and it's like, well, he's the one guy I know?
It seems to be that way. Obviously, he has the name recognition, but the media attention that he is getting over the last 3 weeks, let me give you some numbers. It's more than every other candidate combined. And when you consider, everybody, that there's 74 people running on the Democratic side, that's pretty impressive. No, really, it's 2 football teams, right? It's 23 people at this point. Sure. So to do that over 22 other people, listen to these numbers. He was mentioned just last week alone 1,400 times. Bernie Sanders only 500, a third.
Of the 1,400,
yes.
How many good and how many bad? It's not broken down like that. But
no, total
generally bad.
Right. Like, I didn't see Bill de Blasio on your poll, by the way.
We had him yesterday.
This would be considered bad press right here, right? Everybody hates Bill. And that's the hometown tape. Right. So, yeah, sometimes, obviously, negative press is something that probably isn't a good thing. But then again, you see that with the president, and it seems to work just fine. For Biden, it's mostly been positive, though.
Why did the numbers go? So Biden in March was 31%. 35% in this recent Fox News poll. They asked Democrats, and that was May 11th through the 14th. So why the increase?
For Biden? That's a very good question, because he really hasn't said too many things that you would consider to be
Except for
monumental.
China is not our competitor, which is a first. If it was 1968, I think he'd be right on the money.
Well, that's true. He did say that he wanted to offer health insurance to all undocumented or illegal immigrants. Right. That seemed to get some attention. But for the most part, he hasn't done any tough interviews, guys.
Well, the other thing that is different between that poll and now is the fact that he's officially declared, because there was some suggestion, well, maybe he's in, maybe he's out. He's got to decide, and it had been a long process.
That's true. But a lot of other people have declared as well, and they just can't seem to get any traction.
A couple of things to bring up. Warren is ticking up. She went up 5 points. You know, Sanders, you mentioned, is dropping. Buttigieg went up 5. Harris has dropped 3. So a huge gap, but there are some trends there.
Yeah, Kamala Harris, by many measures, was supposed to be a pretty strong front runner for the nomination. But then again, when you think about it, Donald Trump wasn't even in the race in June of 2015.
Right. You know what's
so the debates are the big thing, and that's going to happen.
When you say Biden, everyone knows Joe Biden. When you just said Harris, we're all thinking, oh, Kamala Harris. Name recognition is big.
That's a very good point.
And she did relaunch this week. All right, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for Joe Concha, who has bacon for everybody.
Smart man.
All right. A little bit later, we're going to check Joe's cholesterol. The SAT changing how it scores the test. Is this a good idea? Up next.
It's a nice day having all of you with us today live with our studio audience. Meanwhile, you know, a lot of people take the SATs before they get into college, which tests math and verbal skills. But soon, students will get another score for how much adversity they faced growing up and their current circumstances.
This new score is calculated using 15 different factors, including crime rate and poverty from the student's high school and their neighborhood.
All right, so what do you think about this? Is this really fair to students? Is this leveling the playing field? Here to react is the man everybody was just clapping for, let's be honest. The editor-in-chief of Campus Reform, Lawrence Jones. Lawrence. So, Lawrence, I mean, if I make a lot of money, my school system is better, my teachers in theory get paid more, therefore it's better. If I don't have to go get a job after school, my grades are higher, and this is a way of leveling the playing field. How do you feel about that?
This is not leveling the playing field. This is a savior complex. This is identity politics that we've been talking about at Campus Reform. The fact that they feel like they can judge people based on where they come from, the color of their skin, what they went through, I think is insulting. It's essentially saying those people that come from those backgrounds, people like me, cannot make it. And I think we warned America that this was going to happen, and no one paid attention.
Well,
they said race is not a factor, though.
Lawrence, what about people like me who grew up so poor, you know, we didn't have any money to go to college, wound up getting scholarships and things like that, able to make it. Would that help me get in?
Well, the thing is this. People should be able to, from a merit-based system, fight for their scholarships. It is a tough task going on the internet, finding all the scholarships that you qualify for. Right. Instead of fixing it on the local level in the education system and preparing people to go to college, we're about to create a workforce where people aren't qualified. But the universities don't care because guess what? They still get the money. Meanwhile, college students go into debt. Their parents got to help them pay it back. Yeah. And so there's really no incentive for them to push the students once they have made it to the college.
Students that grew up in poor neighborhoods, because what if the colleges look at that and they say, we had too many from that neighborhood last time. What if it
But they're not going to do that, Ainsley. They're going to end up putting most of those kids through. Those kids aren't going to be prepared to get through. By the way, this goes to the larger question. Why are we pushing college so much still when a lot of these college students that graduate with degrees still can't get jobs?
Well, Lawrence, I'll take that, but I would say this. I know what's going to happen. They're going to start saying, hey, I know you're living in a beautiful area of Michigan, but we're going to get an address in inner city Detroit in order to look as though we're academically disadvantaged.
They did not think this through. Second of all, the score is invisible. The kids don't know what their score is. So anything that's done in secret is very shady.
They did it in 50 colleges.
Exactly.
And 150 in the fall. Here's a statement from the College Board. The ECD does not provide information about the student. It provides information about the student's environment, puts a student's SAT score and other academic accomplishments in the context of where they live and learn.
Did these rich Hollywood people that are paying for their kids, are they the reason for this?
Yeah, well, there probably are, but it's going to lead to discrimination. Look at the Asian lawsuit that we reported on Campus Reform. At Harvard University, they're essentially discriminating against these students because they said it's many Asians there. This is going to happen because no one knows the score. No one knows the metrics that they're using. Of course, they said, yeah, your background and all that, but how do we know?
Right. I went to college because my parents paid for me to get a women's gymnastics scholarship, and a lot of I just wanted the scandal to come out now. Right.
All right. You couldn't cut the mustard.
Yeah, I couldn't. Uneven job.
Lawrence,
uneven bars were really troublesome.
You've got a lot of fans here. Where's Carrie? Carrie, right back there in the second row.
University of South Carolina, Lawrence.
Yeah, wait a second. Are we taking questions from the audience?
Yeah, we are. Carrie, what's your question for Lawrence?
Hi, Lawrence. I really appreciate the work you're doing. I have a child who's going to be in college in a year. Yeah. When I was in college and graduated in 1982, we were taught how to think.
Yeah.
We weren't taught what to think. Yeah. And I can't even believe that all these years later, I'm concerned that my son is, going to be taught what to think. And I'm also concerned for his safety. He grew up in a fairly we are open thinkers. We are critical thinkers. We are not group thinkers. And I'm concerned that he's going to go to college and voice his opinion and get beaten up. And it blows my mind that all these years later I'm saying this. So how do you help us?
Well, you're 100% right, and we've talked about this at Campus Reform, where professors were supposed to set up the conversation and have that dialogue. Now it's all about indoctrination, and every single issue that's in the mainstream today starts on the college campuses. You think Kavanaugh started on Capitol Hill? Didn't start on Capitol Hill. It started on the college campuses where there was no due process. The Duke lacrosse case, and the UVA case, where students weren't able to get that due process and fight against their accusers. And now what we saw at the Supreme Court, where Kavanaugh was taken away. All this identity politics started on the college campuses. A merit-based system started on the college campus where they're trying to get rid of it. Every issue in the mainstream today, reparations started on the college campus. Socialism started on the college campuses. If we do not wake up and pay attention to what's happening to our kids, it's going to destroy the country.
Right. There's a reason why most of them are going to be voting for Bernie
That's exactly
Sanders.
right. And people laughed at Bernie because Bernie didn't have any friends. Now Bernie came back with Presley, Tlaib, AOC. There is a movement. They may not win the next election, but then the next 20 years, they're going to be real competitors for the United States presidency.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Lawrence Jones.
Okay, coming up next, White House Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Hogan Gidley rally. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Hogan Gidley, White House Deputy Press Secretary, joins us today. The President had a big announcement yesterday talking about the White House plan. How realistic is it to put our hopes into thinking that Congress and the President can get together and get something done?
Well, that's really up to Democrats. I mean, we've been very clear about what we want to do in protecting the American people, securing our borders, and now we're talking about merit-based immigration, a very sensible, rational solution to a problem we face in this country. Obviously, Lindsey Graham introduced a bill that fixes things immediately along the southern border with the smuggling, the child trafficking, the human trafficking as well. It's a horrible situation down there, but we're looking at fixing this long term because so many of the problems we face are because of an immigration system that hasn't been touched for almost 60 years now. It's time to fix it. The president wants to do it. It's up to Democrats to come to the table. We've repeatedly tried to get them there, and they just won't do it.
What's happening behind the scenes? Are the Democrats going to work with them? Because if they don't, they risk the American people. We have a year and a half until the election. They're going to start to see that there's a major problem down on the border if they haven't already seen it already, and that Democrats have got to work with the Republicans to do something about it.
Well, they should. And so many of these Democrats ran on and won in districts that were so narrow because they went for Trump in the 2016 election. The problem is they said they wouldn't be Pelosi's puppet. They wouldn't do everything she wanted to do. They would work with the White House. And we've yet to see them come over and say, all right, let's get together on fixing this crisis at the border.
So I did notice that the Speaker of the House came to visit the President 2 weeks ago about infrastructure, no angry words. We did notice yesterday that she said, even though she had short-term memory loss, that there is a crisis at the, and it's something that can be treated with ginkgo biloba if you're at home. But if you, and she did say there was a crisis at the border, and can I be naive enough to think that maybe there might be some emergency action going on behind the scenes? Maybe if you do this, I do that type thing?
Well, we're always in contact with people on the Hill, but it should be noted, as you just said, not only did Speaker Pelosi mock and deride Fox News for covering the real crisis and the caravan actually on the southern border, but this was right after the President gave an Oval Office address, his first one of his presidency, directly to the American people, outlining the crisis we face, and they came on and said it was manufactured. Now she blew right past that, as though she was always on board with where we were as far as it being a crisis. I mean, Barack Obama called it a humanitarian crisis in 2014 in the Rose Garden.
Johnson, and he came back and said it again. It's worse.
Jay Johnson said it's the size of Orlando, the March numbers and the April numbers. Brian went down there, interviewed people. They're talking about it in Central America on TV, advertising. You can go in.
Absolutely. I mean, it's horrific what's going on down there, and our laws are set up in a way that are magnets for people to come here, because they know if they get into this country, step one foot on our soil, they're here. We've got to fix that.
There's a suggestion in, I think I was reading the Washington Post this morning, they were repeating what was in the Daily Caller yesterday about how people in the administration are talking about using the Insurrection Act, which hasn't been used in a long time. It lets the president use the military to combat lawlessness or rebellion or to remove illegal immigrants.
Right.
Is the administration considering the Insurrection Act?
Look, the president has been very clear. He's going to do everything within his...
Is that a yes or a no?
He is going to do everything within his legal authority to protect the American people and families across this country. No, I'm just saying there are lots of tools at his disposal. We haven't used them all, and we're looking at ways to protect the American people.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Last time we used it, I believe, was the L.A. riots. Where the military came in and said, we're going to need military presence there. This is something, the military's there, but they can't do as much as they want.
Well, what's so sad is that we're getting to this point in the first place. We can fix this now with Congress, and we can fix it in a lasting way that protects the American people. We've got to do it.
Get it done.
Absolutely.
Right. Hogan, thanks for making the trip today.
Thanks so much.
And Jillian is standing in front of the studio audience.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, we do have some serious news to get to here, so let's talk about this for a second. An accused serial killer in this country illegally using his job as a caregiver for the elderly to hunt his victims. Billy Shamirmir is originally from Kenya. He's been behind bars since last year when he was arrested for the murder of an 81-year-old woman. Now he's been charged in the deaths of 11 more elderly women. Investigators are reviewing about 750 other deaths for possible links. A fighter jet crashes into a warehouse in California while trying to land at a nearby base. Dashcam video capturing the F-16 plane dropping from the sky after experiencing technical issues, the pilot safely ejecting. The crash leaving a massive hole in the roof of that warehouse. 12 people on the ground were hurt. All were minor injuries. Chelsea Manning is going back to jail for refusing to testify in the WikiLeaks probe. The former Army intelligence officer was released from a detention center last week when a grand jury term expired. She says she won't cooperate for this new jury either.
Facing jail again doesn't change my stance. The prosecutors are deliberately placing me in an impossible position.
Manning served 7 years in prison for leaking U.S. secrets. President Obama commuted her 35-year sentence. Okay, so you think you've got bad neighbors? Think again. How would you like to listen to this over and over and over again? A UK man facing a fine for blasting the Addams Family theme song at the house next door for 5 years. His neighbors say it all started over one noise complaint and then spiraled out of control. I would just move out. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you just move out, right?
I think it would be.
We're not having that.
Wait, so the Addams Family neighbors complained that he was too loud, so he just started blasting them with music.
Over and over and
It's
over.
so funny.
Hey, when you were talking about that, Jillian, the entire audience was doing it too.
And then what's the first line? Do you know it? They're
crazy
and they're creepy. Is it crazy?
I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is the
crazy.
snapping part.
Yeah. Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Dun, dun.
Right.
All right,
Well,
thank
here's
you
the
very
thing.
much, Julian.
Did they choose to leave that black and white? Because didn't we have color television by then? And they chose to keep it
creepier.
right.
It made it scarier.
I know. It did not scare me. It made me laugh.
All right. Meanwhile, from the Addams family to the Shimkus family.
You're in your homes every morning, and now you're in ours.
Yes,
and you're so glad
symbolically.
you're
You're representing all 50 states. By the way, Ainsley picks all the music. Do you like that song, Philip Phillips?
Right.
All right. The American Idol winner. Good selection.
I like his name.
Right. It's
Mom
easy
did
to
a good job
remember.
there. Right. It's quarter till the top of the hour, 6:45 here on the East Coast. Her scowl inspired smiles all across the country.
Sadly, ladies and gentlemen, the internet-famous feline and the friend of this show, Grumpy Cat, has passed away at the age of 7.
The autopsy showed overall sadness was the cause of death. Here to join us with more is Fox News Headlines 24/7 on radio, and sometimes she's on television.
When you let me.
Yes,
Thanks for having me.
We love having Carly Shimkus on. Don't you love seeing Carly?
That is so sweet. Thank you. You guys are the best.
Well, Grumpy
That's
Cat.
awesome. Okay, yeah.
Grumpy Cat came from the internet.
Yeah, that's
Can you
right.
do the frown?
Oh my gosh, nobody could do the frown quite like Grumpy Cat, who's been
Well,
on the
I
show
tried.
before, right?
I did
Yeah, we have a
try.
picture of you
Oh.
with Grumpy Cat, Steve, don't we?
I think
That's
so.
not
This-
it.
From our program, that's
He looked
We're
so
getting it.
young 4 years ago.
Grumpy Cat was
There
7
it
years
is.
old. He actually, look at that. One is smiling, and it's not the cat. That's a cute picture.
There you go. Wait, you kind of look like Donald Trump there.
There you go.
A little bit. Grumpy Cat actually passed away on Tuesday, but the owners just released a statement about an hour and a half ago announcing that she suffered it from a urinary tract infection, so she was 7 years old. Did you know that her name was actually Tartar Sauce?
Yeah.
Isn't that cute? Lived in Arizona. Massive following.
Yeah.
1.5 million Twitter followers,
Unbelievable.
2.4 million Instagram followers, 8.5 million Facebook followers. The internet will never be the
A sweet
same.
cat.
Books about the cat. They made
Yeah.
a movie
Yeah.
about the cat.
I think that Grumpy Cat really started the whole trend of famous animals
Right.
on the internet, because now there's,
But
thousands
again,
of internet famous animals.
dead. Right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
No sympathy from Brian.
Wow.
No sympathy.
Let's talk a little politics. Yesterday, Bill de Blasio declared he's running for president, but there was a 17-year-old kid from the Midwest who figured it out.
Isn't that so? This kid is so cool. So his name is Gabe Fleischer. He's responsible for tipping the media off to Bill de Blasio's announcement. So he was scrolling through a political blog before high school, as kids are usually not doing.
Yeah.
And he stumbled across this small post written by the Democratic Party in Sioux City, Iowa, inviting people to de Blasio's first stop on his presidential
And
announcement
it had
tour.
not been announced yet.
Right, so he tweeted about it, and then all of these, media outlets picked it up. This is the tweet that he posted. He said, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio to headline an event in Sioux City, Iowa on Friday, which the local Democratic Party is calling the, quote, first stop on his presidential announcement tour. That coming from 17-year-old Gabe Fleischer, who also has a political newsletter that reaches 50,000 people every single day.
He should start. We should go hire him. At least let him intern.
Got to get him on the show. I mean, what a cool kid he is. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so Batman, not a true story, but it is true that they cast real people in these made-for-TV movies.
That's right. So Ben Affleck no longer going to be playing Batman. He stepped down from
On the big
role.
screen.
That's right. So now there are reports of who is going to replace him. Robert Pattinson being one of them. Ainsley, do you
Twilight.
have any suggestions on who you think should be Batman?
I love this guy. Did y'all ever see that movie Twilight? At first, I thought, okay, he's cute, but I saw that movie. He's very mysterious.
Yes. Yeah, I know, right? You
Ladies,
see him,
right?
You see
Right?
a picture of him, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay. But then when you see him act, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but
get that.
let's be honest.
So cute. He would be good.
Can he solve crime? That's the key for Batman.
That's true. Brian, do you think you would do a good job playing Batman?
He's got the eyebrows.
He was a vampire. I think you would.
I don't know. He's no Adam West.
That Nicholas, oh yes.
Right? Adam West.
Did he walk up a
The
building?
original, right.
Yeah.
Nicholas Hoult, he's also the guy that's in the Tolkien movie that's out right now, also potentially in discussions. There's a whole bunch of reports
All right,
out.
and Game of Thrones, I hear you're going to be watching it.
I'm
Your
such a
favorite
fan.
show ever.
I am so devastated that it's coming to an end.
So the final episode is Sunday night?
Yeah.
And you'll be reporting on it on Monday?
If it were up to me. Can I?
It would be, it would be a lot.
Is that okay?
Charlie,
Take a break from
put it
politics.
there.
We'll talk about Game of Thrones.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
All right, I guess I got to clean up after Carly.
I know.
Cyber guy coming up next. I mean, unbelievable.
Thank
Don't
you.
go away. Start the clock and take a wide shot.
You know, we've been doing this show for over 20 years. This is the first time we've taken the show out to you. Over the last couple of years, we've done the diner shows where we take the program to you. Today, you're actually coming to us. A couple of weeks ago, we said who'd like to come. All these folks filled out forms. They had no idea they would have to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to be here.
That's right. That's right.
But let's be fair to Ainsley. 20 years ago, she was in 5th grade. All right, so.
And I was telling Brian, I was like, gosh, if I were in a studio audience 20 years ago here at Fox and Friends, I would have been so excited. We love y'all. But this was a dream. This was a dream come true for all of us, and we know we're sitting here because of you guys, and you keep us employed, and you watch every day, and we can't thank you enough.
And how many people are here just to see Regis? Let's be honest.
Wrong show.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway, you will notice that there are some of our regular friends in the audience today. You've seen them on television before. They live in the New York City area. It's good to have them. Also, people from all over the country are with us because they wanted to watch us do the news. And so we're going to start the news. And once again, the big story, as it was yesterday, there is a caravan. It is currently
Since
moving.
when? I didn't know about the caravans.
It is currently moving through Central America. And yesterday, Honduran authorities arrested, actually, one of the organizers. His name was Juan Molina. And this time, they're actually checking credentials, and they're asking for papers, and they realize he had an outstanding warrant for rape. He's been arrested. Nonetheless, the rest of them are marching toward our southern border.
Wow, it's day 27 of the shutdown, and we have some more news to report to you that has to do with this, because we're all holding a letter this morning that Nancy Pelosi penned to the president. On January 3rd, as the Speaker of the House, she asked the president to speak for the State of the Union address. That's how it works.
Right.
Well, then she sent him a letter yesterday saying, you know what, because of this shutdown, I'm asking you to either submit your address in writing, not stand at the podium, or let's delay it.
That's right.
Well, how sincere is that? She's concerned about security, and she's concerned that something will happen. The only problem is she didn't ask the Secretary of Homeland Security about it. She didn't ask the Secret Service about it. She asked Benny Thompson, what do you think about security? By the way, it's already been done. It's already finished, and we have some experts in the audience to talk about it. Kirstjen Nielsen said this after she heard about the letter. The Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Secret Service are fully prepared to support and secure the State of the Union. We thank the service for their mission focus and dedication and for all they do each day to secure the homeland. If it was a sincere concern for the Speaker, don't you think the chairman would have known about it?
Well, and if there is a security problem at the U.S. Capitol, why are they running the government? They passed some bills yesterday. You got to wonder why the president has not responded yet. Is because he doesn't know whether or not she was actually canceling it, or whether or not it was a political statement. But how many people in our audience think, and this is just a question, how many of you think she does not want to give him the political stage? You know, all eyes are going to be on him. And at some point, you know, our president, if he is in front of a joint session of Congress and she's sitting right behind him, don't you think at some point he's going to turn around and say, the reason our government is not open right now is because that woman behind me is not going to negotiate? Am I right?
It does make people wonder why she's doing this. Is it really a security concern, or she doesn't want to give the president that opportunity
to be on TV?
Exactly, to be on TV and to point fingers at her because they're not willing to go to the table and come up with some sort of a plan.
We don't like to impress you with big names, but we'll try. Karl Rove actually is on our network. He was asked this very question last night. Here's what he said about this move.
This has never happened in American history. The House of Representatives, the Congress of the United States, has never refused an opportunity for the President of the United States, if they wanted to deliver the State of the Union address in person. Nancy Pelosi did not tell the truth today when she claimed that this was all because of national security. She did this because she is angry with the president. She wants to humiliate the president. She wants immediate and unconditional surrender, and this is her way to do it. Shame on her for doing this. America deserves better than this kind of politics.
Right. And one of the other things that Democrats are apparently worried about is the fact that with the president having the stage, and for so many people suddenly to be caught up on the story, the Democrats may appear inflexible. And Donald Trump has made it clear, hey, I'm here to negotiate. You don't want concrete? Let's make it steel. You don't want it, you don't want a wall? We'll make it slats. He's gone on and on. We're going to add $800 million for import at the ports. So he's already negotiating. If it is revealed she's not even doing anything other than saying no, that could be bad for the voters at home.
Well,
go ahead.
Historical context here, because we all love our history.
Yep.
In 1981, Carter did submit a written address, but it was 4 days before Ronald Reagan was going to be sworn in, so it was more of like a peace out thing. And then Ronald Reagan, remember the Challenger when it blew up on January 28th?
Did you say a peace out thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
January 28th is my mother's birthday. I was in 3rd grade, and we were all watching it on television. I remember probably my first State of the Union address that I ever remember was